Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the
More
beating of your
people
heart echoes
believe the
beating
narrative
of a drum.
because the narrative was whatever Walter Cronkite said it was.
Man on the moon.
And everybody believed it on both sides, right and left. The internet broke that model.
So season 1 of NASA.
And so what we're seeing with the SJWs and with the tech companies and everything else is an attempt to effectively recreate that situation where there was a single mainstream narrative and everybody accepted it. They're trying to recreate a simulation of that universal narrative, but they're trying to do it by imposing it rather than it existing more or less naturally on the basis of there only being 3 channels. I wouldn't be where I am now, and you would not be paying any attention to me if I didn't make the decision to just speak the truth, the narrative be damned, and abandon the possibility of becoming a media whore on Fox or becoming a New York Times best-selling author and all that sort of thing. When you look at the situation, then you need to make the decision. And that's why I'm encouraging you to make the choice to always stand up against the narrative. Always question the narrative. Always call it out. But the problem is, what used to be limited to the political world suddenly began invading everything else. And that's what Gamergate was about. It was the first time that people across the political spectrum came together and stood up against the narrative. They publicly rejected the narrative. They publicly destroyed the narrative, and they demonstrated to everyone how you do it. And the way that you do it is through relentless collective effort. In Gamergate, we had a saying which was, shut up and email. Because it was the game industry, so you had a tremendous number of gammas and young guys who were very low on the social totem pole. And all they wanted to do is be left alone to play their games. But they realized that they couldn't, that they wouldn't be. And so they came back strong, and they actually managed to take down their greatest enemy. Gawker no longer exists, defeating the big boss of level 1. It marked the first time that people finally stood up to the SJWs and not only stopped them, but actually went on the offensive. A lot of the stuff that we're doing is a direct result of that, because they will not leave us alone. They will never leave us alone. They can't. Their amygdalas are triggered by our very existence. Asking them to stop attacking, asking them to live and let live, asking them to stop lying.
Russian collusion.
Trump, Russian sort of collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, metal collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, potentially collusion. Trump,
to stop trying to impose false narratives. That will never happen. And that's why I think it's so important to accept this concept that conflict is in the air we breathe. I love the scene in 300 when Leonidas is talking to the Allies. He asks them, what do you do? And the one guy says he's a farmer. The other guy says he's a potter. And then he asks his Spartans, all of them, what do you do?
Spartans! What is your profession?
I want you to understand what your profession is. I want you to accept what your profession is, because you can't avoid it. You can't get away from it. It is all around you. It is in the air you breathe. It is the water in which you swim. You're all gamergaters now, whether you realize it or not. Except the game is much, much bigger than you'd ever imagined. And so our goal is not to win the game. Our goal is not to end the game. Our goal is to score as high as we can possibly get. We just keep going. You take down Gawker. Who's next? You get deplatformed by Patreon. Who's next? No matter what you do, you stick another quarter in the game and you keep playing. What's the reward? You know this. The reward, of course, is level 2. We're not going to win. Jesus is the one who's going to win. But we are going to score as high as we possibly can, in the hopes that one day we'll be told, you ran the race, you fought the fight, you played the game, and you did well. Owen likes to say, nobody's having more fun than us. And you can see it. You can see the fey joy in people's eyes just when they talk about it. We have the freedom and the opportunity to bend the knee and say Jesus Christ is Lord now, of our own free will, because we recognize the truth. We don't have to wait until Jesus conquers the world and forces everyone, including the demons, to bow. We're not trying to win because we can't eliminate the devil. That's beyond our pay grade. Because that's the ultimate big boss. Whether you realize it or not, whether you believe it or not, I am telling you, that's the big boss. And all the various people that you blame for this or that or the other thing, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the left, whether you're talking about the Muslims, whether you're talking about the illegal immigrants, whether you're talking about the Jews, whether you're talking about the European Union, no matter who you're talking about, they are all just bots and minor enemies. Right now, it's a cultural war. It's not a violent war.
What can I do?
That depends on what your abilities are. If you don't know what to do, then the first thing that you should do is support those who are doing something. Subscribe to Unauthorized. Go to one of Owen's shows. Buy a Mike Cernovich book. Milo's got a new book out. There's lots of things that you can do to get started. In the culture war game, the enemy comes and finds you. The most powerful man in the whole world at the time said, begin each day by telling yourself you'll meet with ingratitude and unpleasantness and every form of malice and evil and so forth. He was the most powerful man in the world. What do you think that you're going to face? The important thing is to accept the philosophy that I learned from my martial arts sensei. And it's something that I've always attempted to practice. And that is start nothing, finish everything. We don't look for the conflict. The conflict is all around us. I'm encouraging you to become something better than you are. I'm encouraging you to embrace the way of the culture warrior. The enemy is terrified of you. They're literally terrified of you. Why do you think that they try to silence us? They try to silence us because our message is so compelling. I love the fact that thousands of people have read the 4GW handbook. I love the fact that hundreds of subscribers have watched the 4 Generations of Modern War lecture by William S. Lind. Because all of these things demonstrate how we score higher. Not how we win. Jesus is the only one who's going to win. But we can play the game and play the game well and play the game effectively. And after you win a victory, after you lose a battle, then you get up the next day and you say, I got a new quarter. That's the phrase that I would encourage you to remember. I got another quarter. Because you just keep playing the game. I would encourage you to look up the old Gamergate memes. I think you'll find them very encouraging, because the one thing that Gamergate understood above all is that morale is everything. The two main memes that I preferred during Gamergate, number one, shut up and email. Don't waste your time. What should we do talking about this? We've already told you. Send the emails to the companies. Shut up and email. The other thing that we would say, the ride never ends. And that's very, very simple. I mean, that's basically what I'm telling you here. The ride never ends. You know, people ask me, well, why do you stick by people? Don't you know that Owen is crazy? Don't you know that Milo is a sodomite? Don't you know that Cerno Cerno got accused of date rape? And don't you know this? And don't you know that? I know. I don't care. I don't care in the slightest. Why not? Because they're the Spartans. They're the ones who are going to stand there and fight in the shade. We each have to answer for our own sins. I've got a lot of things to answer for. Milo's got a lot of things to answer for. So does Cerno. So does Owen. We all do. But you know what? It's not my job to judge it. All I ask you to do is to speak the truth as best you understand it.
Because he knows nothing and thinks he knows everything, while I know nothing.
People have been standing up for the truth for literally thousands of years before I existed. People are going to be standing up for the truth long after I'm gone. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about any other internet celebrity. It's not even about the evil that exists today. Evil exists today. Evil existed yesterday. Evil will exist tomorrow. But the main thing is, seek out the truth, speak the truth, and don't cower in front of the enemy. Don't accept their narrative. It's not about trying to enact massive and major change by yourself. Know your enemy is important, but equally important is to know yourself. And so, know yourself and know that you are a gamer-gator. Know yourself and know that you are a culture warrior. Know yourself and know that you are going to get up again if and when you get knocked down. We either learn how to fight or we're defeated. We're going to end up as fatalities regardless. You know, one of the few intelligent things that Jim Morrison ever said is nobody gets out of here alive. So the only question is, how high do you want your score to be? Your game is going to end at some point in time. So play well.